Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have a 1v1 for you guys today. This is a public match, not a ranked game, and I'm breaking my nearly year-long taboo on Scandi Unspec. That's right, this is Scandi, but it's not mechanized. It is not my favorite deck. I have the 121 here, which is a welcome change, even if it is a little bit weird for a super heavy. It's not a true super heavy, really. And Rikasula, I've run into on ranked a couple of times. I think he usually plays Blue Dragons. That's kind of what I was expecting to run into. Here's Blue Dragons. And my opener is a little bit odd. I haven't played Scandi Unspec in so long, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted on various sections of the map. So you see an HMV, that is Japanese, so I was thinking, okay, well yeah, that's probably going to be Blue Dragons running into again. And I just want to say, I saw a lot of things during this game that I've seen a lot more of in ranked lately that, like a year ago, I never really ran into. And so I'm going to point those out, I'm going to ask you guys what you think about them, and my apologies, I need to cough right here. Frog stuck in my throat, as usual. Alright, it's not there before I start recording. The second I start recording, I got a cough. It's the damnedest thing. Anyway, Rover RBS 90, trying these guys out. Twin RBS 90, of course, seems pretty good. And just M41s, A1s on the flank. I don't really want to lose Triangle. I don't really want to invest too much into it. And we have right away an AH1J. This guy's 55 points, pretty solid helicopter, and unfortunately not worth trading in for a couple of Lottos. So I'm feeling pretty good about this at the moment. I've sort of gotten, well, I don't know. We've gotten a couple of nice picks here, maybe 100 points different, and that won't make or break a game. But the other thing too is that my Kustiagity, I just wanted to go forward to see if there's anything up top here. I didn't find anything, so we're going to keep going. We're going to see how far we can go and then come back if anything gets too dangerous here, because this is the primary part of Rikasula's push. And right away there's a bit of a mispathing. The K200s need to be in front of the Kiyomaru Shiki, and it might not hurt him right now because I don't have my own super heavy over here, but it's definitely letting me tear up some of these meat shields with the Gebagon and K200s without too much shooting back. MLU going in, and yeah, triple miss. Not really much I can do about that. It is a downvet MLU, which I don't usually take. Just giving it a try. I think I'm going to go back to upvet. Yeah, because that's just a little underwhelming, right? Like, the Kyu getting out on 1 strength instead of just dying could be a pretty big swing. So in the meantime, we are going forward here, automatic going dangerously far up, and taken out by a 52D. So right away, I kind of fall for the trap. Lots of Blue Dragon players will first buy a block 52D because, well, it's anti-plane, it's also seed, it's very nice, it's very capable, and because of that, it's very popular. So I should have been microing that better than I was. That's an expensive loss. And, you know, without killing the Kiyomaru with losing the automatic, this still feels a little bit not amazing in terms of trading. Now, I was really hoping to get into the town, though, so I don't know. I almost felt like I didn't see all of his units. So, yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot, but I don't think I've seen 1,000 points, even 800 points minus Delta and Hotel. So we are going to have to try and find those, and yep, here it is, the first rocket pod plane. Now, I'm not a big fan of these guys. I think they're hard to get return on investment with against, you know, in the places where you need it. I think it's a very nice win more plane, because if you've already dismantled your opponent's anti-air, then what are they really going to do about it? But I tend not to try to build my decks to win more. I try to build them to lose less. And there is a big difference there. So, Kustiagiri, 90, moving up here, then moving back. We engage the Rensou, and we're just going to be getting out scot-free here. And then I've bought a Beacon 1C because I saw where that Kiyomaru retreated to, I saw both of those resupply trucks there, and here is potentially even the same saber, although probably a second one. These guys are rookie sabers, so he's getting as many of them as he possibly can, and he's going to be spamming them. And, you know, that's harder to deal with than you might think. Right? I mean, it's a lot of, oh, that unit's dead. And they can even rocket pod into anti-air units sometimes. So let's speed up as things do sort of stagnate here. This is a really expensive early buy. It's sort of like buying an expensive plane. It will slow me down just a little bit. So with that in mind, I can't really keep going for this town. I think the ATGM is still alive. I think there's almost certainly recon infantry in here because the M41A1 is spotted, and I've already cleared out that section of woods. Pretty much has to be in there or deep inside Triangle, which I might not have cleared out completely. And I've lost most of my chaff. These Dragoner, of course, not as cheap as LHV and not really as dispensable there. We did kill, by the way, both of those supply trucks, but unfortunately the Kiyomaru was mostly healed before then, so coming back at 7 strength is not the end of the world. There's a rocket pod plane, dead Dragoner. I mean, it's a 10-point tax, right? It's a 55-point plane, it's a 10-point tax. He kills 5 of those, he's nearly up to snuff. 6 will get it, and I didn't expect to see manpads. So that right there, firing from that back section of town. Most unspec players in most decks don't tend to take manpads, especially in Blue Dragons. I've never really seen it before. So definitely a bit of a surprise. You gotta roll with it though, right? So I know there's Mistrals now, that's fine. I know that there's Ninjas now, that's fine. Scandi isn't usually a helicopter-heavy deck anyway, so alright, I won't buy too many, and we'll stay away from the Ninja. We'll make that just a Recon Helo for 90 points, which should take away some of the cost-effectiveness there, because we're hopefully going to be denying it the things it likes to kill, and frankly, that Twin RBS did very well. Quite happy with that. I mean, that's a 90-point kill off a 35-point unit. You know, very nice. Gets me some space, gets me some breathing room, denies my opponent his recon for a little while, and we are just sort of going to be stacking up a couple things. Now, against rocket pod planes, I like to go wide for anti-air instead of, tall, I guess. So tall being a couple of really high performance pieces of anti-air, because those rocket pod planes can come in lots of different locations. And because of that, if you don't have things spread around, pardon the sirens in the background probably coming through, then you can end up worse for wear. And yeah, so I'm just getting a lot of RBS 90s. Double stack, we're going to try it out. I'm not really too confident about it, honestly. There's a reason I brought this into a public match instead of a ranked game, just because I really didn't want to field test this in ranked. I'm really not comfortable with Scandi Unspec, so it's going to be a bit of a learning experience, right? But yeah, that's what we're here for anyway. I tend to find there's a lot of fun in learning those different decks and figuring out what is and isn't a good thing to run with. Although, pretty much everything I play that I like to play has the M41A1s in it, so you'll see that again. Probably my most commonly bought unit in the entire game. Of course, there's a lot of them, they're cheap, it's easy to do that. On this side, we have gotten a cap in Bravo. I figured why not put some early tick pressure on this guy, given that there wasn't much in the top side of Bravo or in Alpha. I didn't know it at the time, but there's actually like straight up nothing here. There's Yebagun, that's pretty much it. Some K200s, a UH6P, most people will put something here, but, you know, if I had gone for an Alpha Rush, that would have been really bad for my opponent. I just didn't do it. And I didn't push this too much, especially once I saw those rocket pod planes come out, because I don't know if you've ever played against people who use Nighthawks or Kurnos or things on this map. You'll see the same thing. Your infantry will come up here, and then they'll get Nighthawked or Kurnosed and just die. And, you know, they might kill a militia or two. It's usually not worth it, because it extends past your comfortable anti-air range for those sort of strike planes. And so I was getting zoned by a threat, really. I mean, it wasn't even anything there to be threatened by, but because of the rocket pod plane buys, I didn't want to expose my Kustiagati 90 to that sort of incoming fire. At least not until later in the game, when it becomes something that's necessary here. So let's stop looking at Rikasula, let's look at my perspective. We see the Yebagun coming in, we see the Shiki-G here, and Shiki-Gs are really, really fragile, and I think for the second time there's been a little bit, well, I called it a miss micro earlier. It might just be a lack of experience successfully pushing this side of Triangle. Now, I get pushed on this side of Triangle quite often, and the fact that I do quite often and that this is not working should tell you something, mostly down to placement. So both times the tanks have come around the right-hand side, which is fine, but their chaff has been over here on the left, and so my ATGMs, my fire support, things like that can shoot in, and I can get clear line of sight, and the chaff isn't really doing its job. So here we have a bit of a weird trade. I've just thrown away my downvet MLU, and I actually probably knew it was going to be thrown away at the time. A couple other people were in Discord with me, and when I started doing this, they're like, no, you'll throw away your MLU, and I was sitting there going, yes, I will. Yes, 100%. To kill the upvet Block 52D that is the single biggest threat to most of my anti-air, including the automatic. So we do get it. It's dead. There's only one of those. There can't ever be another one. And even though I do lose 2 planes to it, that is an example, potentially, if I can use it well, that's an example of one of those down on trading moments that can still deny your opponent a card that would get them a lot more value later on, and potentially get me a lot more value later on with those automatics. So that was the intention there, and it could come back to bite me, right? I no longer have 2 MLUs. Of course, the second one may not be all that necessary, and here it is. Peace Pheasant 2s backed up by Sabres, all this sort of stuff in the air here, and the RBS 90s are gonna start doing some work. So of course, that did get out. Those guys did get out. I was sitting here at this point going, Well, okay, because of the supersede I lost my automatic. The rovers don't seem to be that great against planes, I guess, and we're about to get doinked by a Peace Pheasant 2 here. Yep, down goes the 121, but at least there we got the plane. Which is more than I can say for the first one, right? It's still not worth it, 90-point plane, 155-point tank, but here is another case of that lack of chaff in front of the tank really coming to bite my opponent. So RBS 56, been here since the beginning of the game, haven't been cleared out, down goes the Kiyomoto Shiki, and that does get me some recompense for a really bad trade. So at this point, we are 10 minutes in, we are taking +1, 54 points against 0, and we've forced Rikasula into some bad trading and then taken advantage of some misplays from red. And this is the quintessential new age, new wave of what you'll see in ranked oftentimes, just so many rocket pod planes. And if you can take them out, they're no longer worth it at all. Like even the Yagami 90 kill right there, I mean, it's an expensive recon infantry, but it's not the same price as the Saber. Actually, I think it is the same availability. They're both 5 rookie Sabers, I'm pretty sure, is what you get. It could be 4, it could be 6, but I think it's around there. But it did potentially get field position, that is, if these Tukjansa can kill the M41A1, and yeah, I mean, they're nice. They got the kill. It works out alright. They're alive on 1 strength. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst for red. And another thing too is in terms of board position here, I've been unable to really secure triangles. So much as I said this one really wasn't working that well because of that air presence, because of the 121 kill, because of those rocket pod planes, red has been able to leverage that. It just hasn't been for free. It's been at actually pretty significant cost to red in terms of trading. So at this point, I didn't quite know what to do with the BCAN 1C, so I'm shamelessly looking for CVs here. I'm shooting into Hotel. Yeah, I don't know. I was a little bit grumpy about the rocket pod planes, and here, I mean, there's an F1 coming in. So we've seen, to date, we've seen a Block 52D, we've seen KF-16C, we've seen Peace Pheasant 2, Saber, and F1. That's 5 different planes, that's the entire card. That's the entire tab. However, the F1s are laser-guided bombs. I actually think the rocket pod planes are probably better, at least point for point, because you can see both my Kusti 90 did survive. I'm pretty sure a Saber would have killed at least 1 group. The F1 bombs are a little bit shaky on that targeting sometimes, so we do actually get out, and the F1's an expensive buy. And the other thing here, too, is this sort of strategy that relies on so many rocket pod planes from red really thins out his side of the board. So if we take a look, there's so little here. So little here. And it might make you think, okay, well, if there's so little here and yet he's gotten a decently forward position, you know, what gives? Is this a really good strategy? Is this something you should definitely do? And I think with the amount of planes that he's bought right now, the answer is no. Now, if you could do it with a little bit less of an investment, maybe, you know, keep the Block 52D alive, keep some of the Sabers alive, don't lose those things, don't need to buy the F1 because your Sabers are still alive, then potentially yes, because then you have more points on the board on the ground. But here, he's definitely paying for that over-investment into planes. And we'll see that as the game progresses. It's just, there's not really much on the ground in many places, and this is really the only place that he can push because of that. So, KF-16C, Puff, again, a little bit of a bait here. I want to kill the KF-16C. It's 130 points. It is very much not something I want to deal with. Unfortunately, last missile on the RBS 90, and automatic has to re-aim, so we barely get that. And here, it's not going to even be for free, so the Saber's coming in. Oh, well, never mind, this one. Yeah, this one was. Yeah, goodness gracious. Just so many rocket pod planes. That's a real shame. If my RBS 90 had even a single additional missile, and the other 2 on the other side I sent back to rearm because they were pretty much out. So if I'd had a little bit more of a presence there, it would have been nice. But I mean, just so many planes. Look at this, F1. Oh god, I'm gonna say so many planes so many times. I swear, every video I find a new phrase that I oversay. It's tough. It's really easier to fall into than you might think. You know, I listened to some YouTubers, watched some YouTubers before I started doing this, and I was always sitting there thinking, wow, that guy said that one phrase so much. Is it hard to be creative? And yeah, I mean, you fall into the same sort of pattern, especially when there's a repeatable gameplay loop. And so here the repeatable gameplay loop is the plane tab overbuy. And so it's hard for me to talk about other things because, I mean, look, there it is again, Peace Pheasant 2. What am I supposed to say? Ah, too many tanks on the ground. Well, it's not a tank on the ground, so, you know. One of the other things that I decided at this point is that, 1, I really do like Scandi Mech better, and 2, The reason why is because when you encounter plane spammers like this, you can deal with it in a really weird way. So, by the way, we did make him move his CV there. It wasn't a kill. It did get me a little bit of +4, but really not enough to justify 3 different volleys off the beacon. One of the ways you can deal with people who plane spam is by denying them good targets that are worth their while, because every time a plane goes in, it's a risk. And if you can increase the number of risks they have to take and decrease the payoff for those risks, generally speaking, you can punish people who plane spam by killing their planes before they get their value, even if they are killing something every time they come in. So that's why I bought a crap ton of M41A1s. I bought some more cheap stuff here. Fennec 20 mil, of course, is a 30-point helicopter. We're going to be getting some more infantry as well up here, and I just figured, you know what, we'll get a NASAMS as well, we'll deny this whole section to air, and anytime he comes in, if he kills an M41A1, I don't care. If it gives me another chance to kill the plane. He has to kill 5 of them, 6 of them really to pay off a single saber, 9 of them to pay off a single Peace Pheasant too. So we're going to try to deny that, try to take advantage of the bad economy that planes can represent if denied their proper engagements and their proper targets. But it's easier to do this with mech than it is with Unspec, because you just get more of those cheap tools. So at this point, Alpha has been capped, my Kustiagri 90 are healed up, and these Soching Su-85 are going to get a bit more than they bargained for. Their Kustiagri 90, of course, one of the best elites in the game, but not really for their anti-infantry capabilities. Yeah, they're sticky with 15 strength each, but their DPS is not as high as some elites. Probably talk about that soon, I think. And this was a little bit of folly from my part. I was kind of like, okay, well, if it's just Sochung Su, we can go up here. And I get rocket pod planed, and yeah, I mean, Saber, as I said, the F1 left them both alive, the Saber did not. One of them is dead, and those Habyung 90 will be more than enough to kill the remaining Kustiagri, even if I have gotten a couple of vehicle kills. So this was a bit scary. I basically sent forward my elites here without much to back them up, just the M41s on the side, and a single Jaegeri 90 coming back in, and the Habyung can roll over a single Jaegeri 90, so we are going to get some fire support online from the NM 125s. Of course, those cheaper mortars, they don't deal the most damage every time they hit, but they can deal good suppression and some decent damage when they do strike. And my intention now was to say, okay, well, that was a bad trade in Bravo. I need more time in Bravo to deal with this. I'm getting pushback now from Triangle. This is sort of ish falling apart, and you'll notice that looks like corrected shot. And I should have noticed that looked like corrected shot. We also saw a plane coming around the left, and right here I thought to myself, great, he has something that can see my base, doesn't he? I didn't have enough base defense and not enough recon. There's the Ninja. It can see the fob, it can see the beacon. That Saber is going to be right-clicked on the beacon. It's going to pay for himself 2.5 times over nearly. 130 points, and I did take it up vet, so that's the only one I got. Even with that kill, very much not worthwhile. Very much a tough situation, and this was probably the most scared that I was this entire match, because yeah, I'm getting pressured here. My Jaegeri 90 are dying very, very quickly. K200s, of course, are pretty good transport for 5 points. 2, not 3 front, but 2 guns, pretty solid. They will get decent work done, and they'll survive a surprising number of shots from M41A1s, buying the Red 4 more time, and this earlier buy replacement Kustiagri 90 is going to be absolutely critical into making this position not fold completely. So, up to 27-0, that's not the worst thing that can happen, but it is still bad if I lose that position, and now we can see that earlier strategy in action. Peace Pheasant 2 comes in, kills 2 M41s, I don't care, we killed it. 90-point payoff there, about 70-point profit there for us, and that will translate into some things on the board, and this is just a stupid mech push, right? I mean, the M48A1s are 15 points, M41s are 10 points, Tukjun Sa, 30. So, I mean, I'm going to pay for about half of these units, maybe about a third of those units in just that one kill. Not to mention, of course, this Hawk Pip 2 is now overexposed. Rensau 106s can't really deal with this much stuff effectively, and that's all it's going to take. And by going wide, I've denied my opponent his ability to target those high-value pieces and get good value out of the trade. So, Kustiagri 90, moving forward now, we will wrap up those Habyung 90 and Sochung Su-85 with these guys. Hopefully I can keep these guys alive a little bit better than I did the previous, and with that, our position here is now a lot safer than it was. So, a dangerous 2 minutes, but a decent recovery. Sometimes that's the most you can ask for. So we are now, well, we were taking +1. That looks like a counter cap in Bravo, because my CV is, of course, stationary there, so we are capped. Ninja over on that side did not want to stick around for an automatic for base defense, which is probably overkill, but you know what? Fool me once, shame on me. Snipe my fob, shame on you. Yeah, I mean, it happens from time to time. It's really not ideal, but you do see it. So I figured at this point, if I just killed that many infantry, maybe that CB call out in Bravo, he expected his infantry to have more success than they did. So we're going to see if we can pop up there and kill it. If we can, great. If we can't, oh well, that's fine. We'll deal with what we can. And we're just going to pick up an AH-1J there. It's not an AH-1T, it's only 55 points. It's not worth it if I lose the puff, but I'm not going to lose the puff to an F1. So that at least does let us get out, and it will make sure that F1 have to refuel and rearm. Not the full rearm time because it won't have used its missiles. Well, it's air-to-ground missiles, but it will have used the air-to-air, and that does give some time that it needs to recover. So keeping an eye on that ninja, and I figured he's probably coming over here to look at my CV location. This position for anti-air is something I really like to do. It's not the most reliable, but it often can be, and we're going to be shooting after that Jiwicha, after these KM900s, and double miss there really, really hurts. Even if one of those had hit that guy, I'm pretty sure would have killed him. So, yeah, that's just unfortunate. Yeah. Air to ground beats ground to air, of course, and here we will get our value, but this was actually a really interesting engagement as well. So these Habyong are being right-clicked into the woods because my opponent doesn't want them in the open taking fire from Kustiagity 90, which is a good choice. I've turned off my tertiary in order to kill the KM900s because I'm worried about those double M2 Brownings, and the M41A1s are going to come up here and start shooting in to support this, and they're going to start shooting in not at the KM900s but at the Habyong, because what I want to do is I want to stun these guys. I want to keep them not able to move into the woods and get the damage reduction that comes from that. And with this, we actually turned this engagement that had been trending really badly, we turned it around on its head pretty quickly. You know, two M41A1s in the right position can do a lot of work. Now, F1s, I think it was actually, was that a fire pause? It missed. Goodness gracious. Yeah. I mean, still not really clean here in terms of an engagement. I've been losing way too many elites. It's one of the problems that I find with playing Scandi Unspec whenever I do play it. I like Kustiagity. I don't always keep them alive. They're so competent that it's easy to think, okay, well, we'll just go up here and deal with whatever we got. And if you spend 30, 40 more points before you prep that, then you can spend 30, 40, 60, 70 less points, or fewer, countable, fewer points later on when you need to rebuy your Kustiagity 90. So infantry preservation is something I definitely could have done better here in this game, and that's a good thing to recognize, good thing to learn from. Man, I've missed doing these replays the last week. I finished my degree, and I've had a lot of stuff to deal with in terms of figuring out where I'm going to next. I have accepted a new job, I don't have a start date yet. There's a lot going on, and the tournament is running smoothly. I should have a couple of those replays up for you. 2v2 tournament, of course, the Knights and Squires tournament on my Discord. Replays are posted there from completed games as well, in case you guys are curious. Now, the Rensau 106mm always seems like a bit of a strange pick. Like it seems like a knockoff version of that US quad recoilless rifle truck. I think it's 20 points compared to the Rensau's 15. For the life of me, I don't remember the name of it. But I find that for 5 points less, the Rensau is way less effective. It might just be me, but that's my experience with it. So, NASAM's moving up, only one missile left here, and when I stop it, try and shoot that plane, I do get sniped. Not the best angle of approach for me, and that definitely does hurt. But at this point, I think the game at this point, I was thinking this is pretty much over, because we've killed a lot of planes, we've disabled lots of that air tab from Rikasula, and that's what really got him a lot of momentum around the 10, 12, even 14 minute mark in this game. And with that gone, I have a lot more freedom of action on the ground, so I don't have to play this sort of defensive expect planes anywhere as a force multiplier on either side of the board unexpectedly. I don't really need to prepare for that as much and have contingencies for that as much as I did earlier on in the match. So we're going to be going a little bit wider here. We're going to be trying to put on some pressure. It only took me 25 minutes to put on pressure. I'm such a slow player sometimes, honestly. I see people who play, you know, Blue Moto, South African Moto, any other sort of thing, even Haymakers, Commonwealth Moto, and he's just so quick with it, so much pressure early on, and that's just not how I play. 9 times out of 10 anyway, it's just not how I play, and so getting this sort of thing, even, you know, pushing at 25 minutes is so late in the game when you think about it, but there's a lot of time left. You can make a lot of points up at the 25-minute mark, even with just a +1, let alone a +2, it's a big swing. So if I need to spend the first 25 minutes getting into a good position, but I can have higher odds of getting into that good position than earlier on, that's a trade-off I usually like to take. Now, it will depend on my opponent, it will depend on the deck matchup, it will depend on the map as well. There are some maps that it really pays to have early aggression, Nuclear Winter, I'm thinking of you. But that's not all maps and it's not all situations, and yeah, infantry preservation coming to bite me in the ass there again. But, you know, if that's what it takes, I mean, that's double Hab Young 90 killed, there wasn't much anti-air here, and I have noticed a lot of plane spammers don't have a lot of anti-air, they tend to buy a plane to do that, so KF-16C there, coming out, looking at that block 15, and yeah, I mean, we even can tag it with the automatic too, so it's just, once you break through that net, then your own bombers can often do very, very nice things, or very, very mean from your opponent's perspective, once their own planes are reasonably dealt with. So, here, my Jaeger 90, unfortunately a little bit too far forward, probably should have pulled them back this way. Captured K511 cargo is always a little bit goofy, but I figured, you know what, let's try and clear out Golf entirely, and then let's do another little M41A1 up here, Jaeger 90 up here, because I did want to kill that CV in Bravo, and yeah, I really should have been pushing this with lines first. It's just a lot safer of a proposition compared to the Kustiegeri, but, you know, live and learn. Play a new deck and learn, I suppose. Yeah, there it is. These guys are such good value, it's insane. And then once you get the automatic up on the high ground, this is really deadly too. It's like, oh, double tank? That's fine. I brought anti-tank with me. Enemy helicopter? I brought anti-helicopter. Enemy plane? I brought a plane. That F1? Yeah, well, I have anti-plane right here. It's called an automatic. Now, in this case, I'm ducking out. I was hoping to break line of sight with it, but it doesn't look like that's going to be an option, so I'm shooting in, and we don't get the kill, but neither does the F1, and that's another thing about the F1. It's just so... That's why I say it's so unreliable, right? What better chance could it have had to kill that automatic? It had line of sight, it got a right click, directly on the automatic, nothing blocking it in terms of smoke, no panic, no enemy, you know, I didn't have an ASF up to try and kill it. That was as good of an opportunity as many ATGM planes need, and the F1 couldn't get the kill. Yeah, just something to think about, I suppose. That's why I don't take the plane, even in decks that could. And I play a fair amount of Blue Dragons as well. It's one of my favorite decks. Didn't used to be, but I went over it some with Lord Pi, and he pointed out a couple of things about how the deck can work that I had been overlooking. And since a couple of changes to the infantry tab, tank tab a little bit, a couple months back, it's been working a lot better for me. I've definitely been enjoying that recently. Now, one thing I was thinking about doing here was just sending in my own plane and trying to bait the KF-16C this way, but he did see the automatic, so I doubted he would take that. And instead, I mean, the MLU was coming out for the Jiwicha. We're going to try it, but I didn't want to dive as far, right? So there it is. And my plane got out. Enemy KF-16C did die. But because I used the MLU first, it then went in with a block 15. I actually did have air-to-air. I had an ASF I could use to back me up there. So just one of those, okay, this is a good idea. No, maybe not. Let's change it a little and go in for that. Another really goofy thing. One of my favorite words that are goofy as well. Fighting Falcon, this was a right click. And just watch what happens here. Normally, cluster pattern on this is going to be two bombs pretty close together. Jiwicha is moving away. What? That's an iron bomb, right? Is right here? No, nope. Nope. The shell landed there. The explosion was here. Thank you, Eugen, for making this game how you did. We all love it. We all love to hate it. But goodness gracious, if it's not funny sometimes. I didn't actually kill it. Brought it down to 1 HP. But you know, I mean, it's just hilarious. If I'd still had the, if I had managed to avoid getting my artillery snipes there, that would have been a nice, convincing target for it. They'll probably would have targeted it when it was already out in the open. That's going to be pretty much the entire game. Let's speed through here as I'm just moving through in Golf, moving through into Hotel. This section on 1v1 Patty is usually a game over. I have Kustiegeri here, and I think when he surrenders was actually right when this Fighting Falcon was going for. So my Kusts were over on the right, which means that his CV had to be over on the left as well. So that's going to be all I've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.